It's Wednesday. We're back with another episode of Bothered. Thank you so much for your support and for your emails that you send to bothered@juliekimcomedy.com. All of the likes, subscribe, follows, and please definitely go in and comment. Let's beat the haters out there. And I'm only talking about bots and incels that come and find me and call me a whore for like no fucking reason at all. I don't understand it, but having fun. Thanks so much. Hello, it's me, Julie Kim. Welcome to Bothered, my little podcast about being bothered. Every week I share short stories.
Living like this, I might lose it.
They're mostly real situations that have happened to me. You wouldn't believe some of them, or maybe you would. Maybe you can relate.
Living like this, I might lose it.
This week's episode is about an experience at a car dealership, and then I follow it up with other experiences at car dealerships. And I'm talking about 4 examples, a minimum, where I have been perturbed and extremely bothered at strange and probably sexist behavior towards me. This all started, this main story starts when my husband and I were expecting. Yes, he was pregnant. No, I was pregnant. And we both at the time had been individual owners of small 2-seater cars. Or 2-door cars, because there were seats in the back. There are very few 2-seater cars that are meant for grown-ups. They were 2-door cars, which pretty much, like, when it comes to children is useless, okay? It's hard enough having a child. Imagine opening a 2-door car and then like putting your front seat forward and like just squishing in there to get your baby. What stress. It would be too much for us. And we knew that. So we knew that we both had to sell our cars, which we did, and then merge into one larger car. And we are, at this point, very against minivans. I am still currently against minivans, generally as a lifestyle choice for me. We are also those people who are clinging to downtown urban life and a lifestyle without moving to the suburbs. Not to put down suburbs at all, because I have enjoyed going to a lot of my friends' suburbs, but mainly because I'm a stand-up comedian and I like being downtown and within walking distance to a bunch of local shows where I get paid in drink tickets. And I don't even drink, so I just like eat the snacks when they're snacks. At any rate, my husband and I both had to sell our respective small cars and get a larger car. And not being a fan of minivans or being, like religiously opposed to minivans, we opted for a small compact SUV. And we went around to a number of different dealerships and we had an idea of the ones that we liked. So we went to this one particular dealership, and I will not name the car maker, just in case they eventually want to sponsor me or have some sort of ad campaign, which I'm not against. This particular car dealership was a new car dealership, and the car manufacturer is, how do I say this most generally, but still being kind of specific, of the Nordic persuasion. All right. It was one of those. And I really like this car brand. In fact, my 2-door car was of this cultural background, and I really, really loved it. It was my favorite car by far. This car at this point would be like 14 years old, but if I still have it, I am convinced that I would be really happy. It was small. It was compact. It was like understated, like a lot of Nordic cars and people are. It was like a car that was really nice and rich in performance and style, but was understated, and you wouldn't see me driving it and be like, oh, she's a fancy bitch, right? But I would feel like one inside because it had the most amazing pickup and style and all of that kind of thing. Oh, I miss it so much, but also children are a blessing. So my husband and I went to this dealership to look at a small compact SUV, and our car salesman was an older gentleman. He was Caucasian. He was very nice. He was very diligent, gave us all the attention in the world. He was very polite and respectful the whole time. So we went to look at one of the models of small compact SUV. Up until this point, everything's very, very normal. I was very nice. My husband was very nice. He was very nice. We were having a nice time. And then he takes us around to the back end, the ass of the car, and he opens the trunk. And as you may know, in an SUV, the trunk opens like this way. Some open sideways. It opens this way. And he looks only at me. And I'm talking both eyeballs, only at my eyeballs. No acknowledgement that my husband's even there in this one moment. He looks at me as he opens the trunk and he says, "Now you will be interested in this trunk space. It would fit a baby stroller, no problem." And there I was, standing there with my 7-month pregnant belly. And we had not acknowledged or talked about the pregnancy so far. My response to him was to look him dead in the eye and say, "Why? Oh, do you think I'm pregnant? I'm not pregnant." And this guy turned red. I'm talking beat fucking cherry red Porsche or Corvette, whatever your reference is, red. And he started to stammer. He's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, I actually made him think that my 7-month giant distended belly came from somewhere other than a pregnancy. And you know what? I made him feel very horrible. And that was the intent, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else listening, because what a horrible thing for him to assume. Not that I was pregnant. He was very right. I was very, very pregnant. He assumed that I would be the one most interested in the trunk space because I would be the one pushing the baby around in the baby stroller and folding it up and putting the stroller in the fucking car. And let me tell you, that was a wrong assumption. I did not take maternity leave. Like, I was off for 4 weeks, max 3.5 weeks. My husband was the legit official taker of parental leave. I'm not even going to call it maternity leave. This was only a few years ago. And I thought at the time, more than I think now, because a lot of people open their big fucking mouths to make me realize that society is not as progressive as I would like it to be, or as progressive as I believe my family is and should be. He fucking 100% assumed that I would be the one to be the primary caregiver and the only fucking person pushing a stroller and folding it and putting it into a fucking car. And he was wrong, and I needed him to feel bad about it. So after he shit his pants and went to change his pants into another pair of boring old fucking Dockers khakis, he came back. No, none of that happened. But in my mind, that happened. And he was so embarrassed. And I said, no, I am really pregnant. And then we both kind of laughed it off because I still like to have a good experience. And also we hadn't negotiated yet for that SUV, and I was determined to get a good deal, as I am always determined to get a good deal, especially as a woman who goes into a car dealership, because they do not act the same to women as they do to men. And this is just a precursor to my later stories. At any rate, I made him feel very, very embarrassed. And he said, "Oh God, thank God, because just last week, I assumed a man was there with his daughter, but it was his wife." So yeah, I mean, in a way, I feel bad for this old man because he definitely has to update the references inside of his head. But God, he was a nice man, and he was doing his best with the worldview that he had. And his worldview included that a man and a woman would be married and be roughly around the same age. I don't even know what that other couple, what their situation was, but I would imagine that was very funny also. But he thought that I would definitely be the one to be more interested in trunk space for the fucking baby stroller, and he was 100% wrong. And I made him suffer just a little bit because that was the payback. Anyways, we went on to have a fairly nice time, except that now I hated him, and we ended up not getting the car, not because of this interaction. If we really wanted the car, we would have gotten the car, and this actually could have been really good negotiation leverage. But you know what? The small compact SUV that they had at the time was not necessarily what we wanted, and we knew that the next year they were coming out with a whole different design and chassis and style and everything like that, so we didn't want to be the last of the old style. Anyways, that's all the boring detail I'll say about that. The next bad experience we had at a car dealership was like that same week, because we didn't get a car from the Nordic car manufacturer. Instead, we went to another dealership, and this time it was a German automaker. And I think that's even more broad to say without having to give away anything, because I think there's more German automakers than there are Nordic automakers. Anyways, we go into this dealership that is known to have pretty nice cars. And it's like an intake, almost like a hospital, right? Like you go, there's a receptionist there, and with whatever criteria they use, they assign you to a salesperson. And the person at or around the desk happened to be who we believe was like the manager there or something. And he said, I've got the perfect guy for you. This guy, Rory was his name, is one of our best salesmen. I'll go get him now. So we remember we were standing there, and he went to the other end of this very, very large, spacious showroom, and he started walking back with this man. And I leaned over to my husband and whispered for, I don't know why. I mean, they were very, very far away, but it makes it seem like we're having more fun when we whisper. My husband and I do that a lot. We whisper these secrets and these like inside voices to ourselves. And I said, this guy's going to be an idiot, because I knew he was going to be an idiot. And let me tell you the reasons I thought that he was going to be an idiot. And spoiler alert, he ended up being a giant fucking idiot. I could tell by his posture, okay? He had slumpy shoulders, and it wasn't just because of his physique or the fact that he didn't work out, which I would never judge. I could just tell his shoulders were slumped, and his suit was too big for him, and he looked sad, okay? He looked sad, and he didn't look like a shark. And you know what? That's what I want. I want a worthy opponent at a car dealership, because I know that this is going to be a very major negotiation. I want someone who's going to do their due diligence and who knows how to answer questions quickly and is on the ball and doesn't fuck around. But this guy, it looked like he was like a toddler in training, just a giant toddler that they had given a cheap suit to, and just like maybe just told him, you're good, you're who we call one of our best salesmen. I wonder if they said that about all of their salesmen. Anyways, he comes to us, and he is introduced to us, and he gives me the limpest fucking flaccid handshake ever, with like weak eye contact. And I'm like, all right, I guess we're doing this. So he's taking my husband and I around the German cars that they've got there. And he's just saying basic shit. We're asking questions, and he's kind of answering them. He's letting us, take our freedom and try out these different cars. We had gone upstairs to the roof where they've got cars outside parked, and I had noticed these seats that I like. Looking back, I don't think I like these seats at all now. I think they were red and black, like a Michael Jackson Thriller costume, but I don't know. I thought they went with the car. I don't know. I got wrapped up in the German carness of it all. So later when we went back to his desk, I had asked him about these seats. I'd asked him about these seats, and he said, I don't think we have seats like that. And I said, yeah, you do. We just saw them in the car upstairs. And then we brought him back upstairs, and he goes, I've never seen these before. And then he just proceeded for a minute to like peek inside the car and marvel in his own little world, leaving us standing there being like, this is your best fucking salesman. It was a big giant turnoff. Anyways, we went back to his desk, and this is the thing that's the most memorable. We're at his desk. We're ready to have a conversation again. And what he does next, his move was to turn around and grab a photo frame with photo in it from behind him. And he turns around and he brings it in front of me. He presents me this photo frame, and he makes me look at it, and he says, my wife is Korean. And I said, oh, my husband's wife is Korean. Because I don't know why. I just wanted to be a bit of a dick, and I did not want to give him the satisfaction of getting the response that he wanted. And I didn't want him to be able to excuse his fucking laziness and lack of smarts by just like relating to me and saying, I have an Asian wife and you're Asian. I fucking hate that shit. Unless like it's a good situation, you want to give me like a discount or something like that. I didn't think that. I thought he was just trying to like be friends. And at that point I was really annoyed with him already because he was not being a good salesperson. So I gave him nothing. And then he just put the picture frame back. At any rate, we said, all right, we'll be in touch. And then we left, and I I emailed him and I said, hey, we'd really like to look into those seats. Can you cost out this car and those seats? And after 2 days, I've got the receipts, okay, everybody. I wrote back. I had to follow up to ask him to give me a price on those seats. And he wrote back and he said, I've looked everywhere in our catalog and I can't find those seats that he know exists because we showed them to him in a car at their dealership. And he attached like 100-page PDF and he said, here's our catalog. I mean, their back office, we use this internally only catalog. Instead of looking or seeking and otherwise finding out, he just attached a giant voluminous document and said, see if you can find it. At that point, we were fucking done. And this guy was fucking dead to me. And I will say I Karen'd out a little bit here, but I think it was justified. This guy was wasting our time and blocking himself from selling a car to us. Do you know what I mean? So I just sent it to the manager who claimed that this was his best fucking salesman. And I said, this is how stupid your guy is. Look at this email. Look at this giant document that he wanted me to look through to do the work for him because he's a fucking idiot. And I think I said something else like, we will be buying a car somewhere else, or like a Pretty Woman moment where it's like, you work on commission, right? Well, we got this other car. What did we end up getting? We got another German car, and fuck those people. I think I was more impassioned about the second story than the first, but the first story is what came to mind because it was an attack on my womanness. The second part wasn't an attack on my womanness. The second one was an attack on my fucking brain. How stupid are you to think that you can like relate to me for being a Korean woman just because you're married to a Korean woman? And this is only after you have dropped many fucking balls. And they're like gigantic balls. They're not little balls that can fall through your finger. They're not difficult questions that we asked. They were just like basic fucking questions that any competent salesman would be able to answer, but he was too lazy or stupid to do it. There are many reasons why women dislike dealing with their cars, whether it's like the mechanic or getting your tires changed or like buying and selling cars. It's not because we're like not smart enough to do it. It's not like we can't do the research. It's because these are the way we're fucking treated. I have more stories, and you know what I'm going to do because this is getting long? I'm going to do a part 2. I can't even say it's going to be next week, but it'll be someday. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next Wednesday when we're back with another episode of Bothered. Thank you so much for likes, subscribes, comments, and follows, and all that kind of stuff. You can email me at bothered@juliekimcomedy.com. If you have written to me, I have written back to you. I am now caught up, and I've been saying that for a lot of weeks, and I'm really sorry it took so long. But now I'm in the groove, and I hope to hear from you. I want to hear your stories and your reactions. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you for your support. Have a great week.
Living like this, I might lose it.